Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm Garrett, and I'm going to call this video series Storytime with JS. So a lot of times I will get questions from people on YouTube, Messenger, and every other platform saying, JS, man, tell us some fucking stories about some of your successes, some of your experiences, as well as your failures in your endeavors in experimental black magic and sorcery. So this story is quite comical, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys because it's one of the funniest things I've ever done. It's also one of the most evil things I've ever done. So once upon a time, I was an assistant martial arts instructor in Kasaki Kai specifically. That was the art that I went through years of training in and became an assistant instructor. I mainly taught children's classes, and I assisted in the adult classes as well. So the man that opened the dojo, my sensei, he was my mentor in a lot of ways, not only as my sensei in the art of Kasaki Kai, but as in being a man as well. I knew him from the time I was 12 years old up until now. He's been a good friend ever since. And he decided to partner up with what I would call your typical fake macho asshole that gets into the martial arts field for the sake of self-gratification and guru worship, which is something I absolutely despise. This man was quite the character, the antagonist. He was an Elvis impersonator of all things. And anybody that knows anything about Elvis knows that he was an 8th degree black belt and really big into karate. And this guy actually believed that he was the reincarnation of Elvis. He would tell you that. Yeah, if you indulged his fantasies while he was intoxicated or whatever else he might have been doing. So this man developed a jealous rivalry with my former mentor and started antagonizing him and his family. He opened a dojo right next to my mentor's family business, which had nothing to do with martial arts. They originally started out as partners in this dojo, and this man became so jealous and antagonistic that, my mentor came to me and he's like, you know what, man? He's like, this guy is not only antagonizing me and tormenting me, but he is also now antagonizing and tormenting my family and my children. And I'm at the point where I'm about ready to go to prison, bro, because I'm about to go and break this motherfucker off for real, because I can't take any more of this bullshit. There are certain things that you do not say and do to a real man and get away with it. And unfortunately, the laws of our civilized society protect the antagonists more than they do the good, decent American citizen. And so I said, all right, man, I got something for this guy. I got something for him. I'll tell you what, the next time he's over in the dojo, you call me and let me know when's a good time to catch him there. So being that he was a Elvis impersonator that was obsessed with Elvis and a martial arts instructor, I went online and I found a karate Elvis action figure. This little tiny action figure that looked like Elvis with a fucking karate gi on and a black belt. It was made of plastic. And so my friend calls me, he's like, hey, he's over there right now. He's over there like whacking the bag in the wall and making all kinds of noise. Like, now's the perfect time to catch him. My friend had no idea what I was gonna do. So I took I took my Polaroid camera along with this little action figure, this little Karate Elvis action figure. And I showed up at the dojo and I walked in. I was like, hey, what's up, Elvis? Like, everybody called him Elvis. And man, he loved that because he really thought he was Elvis. Which played into my benefit. One of the best ways to fuck off an enemy is to play into their ego, which is playing into their weaknesses and learning how to exploit said weaknesses. So I go in, I was like, hey man, how's it going? And I made up this whole elaborate story. I was doing painting and pressure washing at the time. This is back before I was a professional sorcerer and doing this full time for a living. This is back when I still had a slave job. So I went and I was like, hey man, you'll never believe this, but you know, I'm doing this work for this old lady, and I walked into her house and she has like a shrine of Elvis there. There's like a whole fucking shrine laid out with all Elvis's CDs and a big picture of Elvis and a statue of Elvis. And she has your CD. The guy he was actually a good Elvis impersonator. He had his own CD. And I said, she had your CD on her Elvis shrine, and she flipped the fuck out when I told her that I knew you personally. So she went to her closet and got me this little action figure and was like, oh my God, you have to get him to sign my action figure for me. And she sent me over here with this old school Polaroid camera and asked me to get a picture of you holding that action figure. And man, this made this dude's ego just, oh really? I got a fan? And I was like, yeah, so can you know, I took the action figure out of the box and I was like, can you sign it? I mean, I had a Sharpie and everything ready for him. And he's like, well, should I sign it as Elvis Presley or should I sign it with my name? And I was like, no, she's your fan, bro. She says she's your number one fan. Put your signature on there. And so he does. He literally autographs his own fucking voodoo doll. He autographs it. And then I'm just like, hey, can I get a picture of you, a Polaroid of you holding your voodoo doll for her scrapbook? That's what she asked me to do. He's like, yeah, hang on, let me go put my karate gi on, man. And so I'm like, yeah, go put your karate gi on so you look just like the fucking doll. And so he goes to the back in the bathroom for like 5-10 minutes and fixes his hair and puts his karate gi and his black belt on. And he comes out and he like poses with this action figure that he just autographed that he has no idea is his actual voodoo doll. And I take several Polaroids of him. He's like, maybe I should put some chi on it for her. And I said, yeah, put your chi on it, Elvis. And so he did, man. He was into energy work or whatever. He sat there and literally put his chi, as he called it, his personal energy into this action figure that I was about to take home and put a death curse on. So what I do after that is I go home and I take a wooden sigil plate and with a wood burner, I burn the sigil of Focolor, a demonic assassin, the slayer of men and sinker of ships, a very nasty goetic demon, for those of you who don't know. And I wood burned that sigil into the sigil plate, and then I took it out to my ritual space, my fire pit, and I took that doll that he autographed, and I took coffin nails, and I drove a coffin nail through the heart, through the chest of the voodoo doll into the sigil plate, and then I drove another coffin nail into the groin through the doll into the sigil plate, and then I drove the third coffin nail right through the third eye through the doll into the sigil plate, and then performed a sacrificial rite evocation of Focolor and asked him to totally lay waste to this motherfucker. All right, and then I took the remains of this curse and I put my goofer dust and my graveyard dirt and my doom oil and everything and bound it up in a nice little black sack with this sigil plate that was like a giant X bag. And I went and buried that in the graveyard and sealed the curse upon him. And I wasn't done yet. Then I came home and I took the Polaroid, my favorite Polaroid of him holding his doll, and I performed the chicken feet curse on him. I sacrificed a chicken to Pumbagira, who presides over the chicken feet curse, which is pretty widely known as one of the most nasty curses that you can place upon someone. It causes every situation, every person, every friend, everyone, everything in their life to turn against them so violently that they don't have time to fuck with you or whoever they are antagonizing, because they're too busy spinning around in circles trying to figure out what the fuck is happening to me. My whole life is falling apart. They're riddled with anxiety, panic attacks, nightmares, physical weakness, physical illness, all these things befell onto this man. So after I performed the chicken feet curse on him and then buried that effigy in the graveyard, I watched and I waited. All right, a week goes by, and then my friend calls me. He's like, dude, you'll never believe what happened. I'm like, what? And he's like, this dude just came in my shop crying like a fucking bitch, apologizing to me, saying that he did not know what was happening to him, that he was falling apart. His fiance left him. He was losing all 3 of his businesses and just lost all his money in a bad investment, and that he was so riddled with anxiety, panic, and fear that he didn't know what to do. This man was shaking and crying. This big, badass, macho, karate fucking bully was all of a sudden shaking and crying and hugging my friend that he'd been terrorizing for months, apologizing and asking for forgiveness. So the man lost everything, and then he moved away, and then he died. Oh my God. That's what happens when you fuck with a fucking black magician. And that is how powerful black magic is. And that's why before you bully someone or antagonize someone or torment their family or fuck with them in a way that is undeserving, you better think twice, because they might not be a black magician themselves, but they just might know a black magician like me that is willing to go to bat on their behalf. So eventually all bullies fuck with the wrong people, and this is one of those cases. So that is story time with JS. That is one of the funniest stories that I have to share about my practice, and I still laugh about it to this day. Hail the Infernal Empire.